Hey guys. Stop it. Oh yeah, it is. How you guys doing? That sounds pretty good. I'm having a little trouble seeing some people in the back left though. Are they even up there? There's like an empty second row. I can't even see anything. But, I just want to see your pretty faces and everything, especially you, Ian. Just showing off, sun's out, guns out, right? So, how many of you guys enjoyed week 1 of Before the Fall? You guys? Yeah. Adam brought some fire. Who thinks Samson is cool? Raise your hand. Who wants to be that strong? Who wants to be that strong and still have normal hair? There you go. Okay, that's what I think. That's what I think too. I can't do the long hair. It just doesn't work for me. I like the short hair stuff. They agreed. I mean, it just doesn't work for me. Like I have party, sometimes, but it's mostly business. I'm going to school for business, so it's probably what I need to keep. But last week was a great message, and Adam was talking about all the decisions that Samson was making that were affecting his life that weren't exactly what he should have been doing. He fell in love with a Philistine woman, and he was supposed to be delivering the Israelites from the Philistines, but he was, in effect, kind of trying to connect the two, and that's not what God's purpose was for his life. So it was very not useful to make that decision. But when I was told, hey, Daniel, we're going to be talking about Samson, I immediately thought of one of my favorite shows of all time. And they took it off Netflix, so I can't watch it anymore. Thank you, Netflix. But I was able to find it online, and I got a short little video guide for you guys to see. If you guys want to pull up the video, it's just to make you laugh.
Stu and his business partner, Brian Sampson, just filed for bankruptcy.
Samson. It's just a great name. Straight out of film noir. An old detective who drinks hard, loves even harder. Or, go with me here.
Samson, a tiny little orphan mouse who must find his way home to Wolverhampton.
Or Samson, the legendary figure from the Bible. Nah, that doesn't work. All those guys had names like Ben-Hur and Prometheus. You have never read the Bible, have you, Sean? Genesis, Exorcist, Leviathan, Do the Right Thing. Oh my gosh. Stop talking!
I just love that scene because it's like, Genesis, Exorcist, Leviathan, do the right thing. I just love that part. It's so funny. Because that's how some people are with the Bible. It's like, I have no idea what's in that thing. I know that Samson, that sounds cool. It's a cool name, but beyond that, they don't really know what's going on. So this week, we're going to be diving into Judges 15. We're going to go from start to finish. You guys going to be okay with that? It's a full chapter. Oh, there we go, hype man. I like it. Good job. All right. So this one's going to be more about like emotional decisions. Not that teenagers would know anything about that, but I'm going to try to help you guys learn a little bit about emotional decisions and how they can affect you, like leaning on your own emotions versus leaning on God and what he has to say about things. So I was trying to think, how can I enlighten the students? How can I help them understand what I'm talking about? So I looked up the psychological definition of emotions, and I found that an emotion is a complex, subjective experience accompanied by a biological and behavioral change. Now, you're like, Daniel, I'm out of school for the day, my brain is shut down, speak Americanese. Well, this is what it really means. It's like you change both like as a person and the things that you do. And I was thinking of examples of this, and I am going to get in trouble later, but it's totally fine. It's worth it. So everyone knows my beautiful girlfriend. Her name is Avery. Say hi, Avery. Sometimes Avery gets a little hungry, and when she gets hungry, she sometimes shows this emotion called hangry. And this emotion comes with a biological and behavioral change because the biology inside of her goes from this sweet girl to, I need food. And like the behavioral changes are just crazy. She's just like, oh, I love you. It's like, please get me a cookies and cream milkshake right now. I'm really hungry. Just give it to me. And then like, this is what I normally see. I put up a picture. That's the look I get when it gets hangry time. And I'll get that look again later. But it's worth it because now you guys know what I'm talking about when I talk about emotions and stuff. So if you guys will open up your Bibles with me into Judges 15, we're going to be going through the whole thing, like I said. We're going to be talking about emotional decisions. And just to warn you, Samson is like a high school girl, man. He is just all over the place. He's doing whatever his every whim tells him to do. Not that guys don't do that. Obviously, guys do that too. But, the stereotypical, like, oh, I feel this way. Oh, I feel that way. That's what I'm talking about because he just went on whatever whim he wanted to. So it all starts out in Judges 15:1, and I am reading the NIV version. It says, later on, at the time of wheat harvest, Samson took a young goat and went to visit his wife. How sweet, he brought a goat. He said, I'm going to my wife's room, but her father would not let him go in. Because if you remember from last week, he went to go get some debt repaid, and he ended up killing 30 dudes, so he's late to his wedding. So that's never a good thing. Do not leave a bride waiting, because apparently this happens. He says, I was so sure you hated her that I gave her to your companion. Isn't her younger sister more attractive? Take her instead. First of all, Father of the Year, he not only offers up his next daughter, but apparently she's prettier. So I'm not sure that he's going to get that, number one dad mug or anything, but Samson here loses his wife. He's like, oh, dude, you were late. I gave her away. Like, you weren't here. And the worst part is that he said, I gave her to your companion. So basically, he was like, you were late. The best man was there. There you go. That's what happened. Like, I needed to get rid of her. There you go. She's his now. You want my younger daughter? Here you go. He's just offering her up, and Samson's like, whoa, I didn't agree to that. He's like, I don't care if she's prettier. I wanted that one. So obviously, they care so much about each other. Samson's just like, fine, whatever. I was late. I was just killing some dudes. Like, you don't have to punish me for that. There's nothing wrong with it. So he ends up losing his bride to his best man. And this triggers him. He's like, I just killed 30 guys. I'm ready to kill some more. He's in this emotional state, guys. Like, he is pumped up. He is not happy about this. And so the first thing that I read when I got to this was that he's alone. He's done. So my first point that I want to make is that emotional decisions cause isolation. Because a lot of times when you make your decisions that are not what God has plans for you, it kind of takes you away from God. And when you go away from God, you go away from the people that he has to be set in your life. So in this instance, he was like, okay, fine. I'm not going to even take the other woman that you're offering to me, just like bacon in the morning. Pardon me. He's like, fine, I'll be all alone. I'll just I'll retaliate. There's a lot of retaliation in this chapter, as you'll see as we get through, because we're only 2 verses in, guys. In 2 verses, he's come back to his wedding late. He's lost his bride to his best man. The dad of the bride has offered his younger, more attractive daughter, apparently, and he's like, okay, I'm ready. Let's fight. So if you'll just go with me into Judges 15:3, it'll start our overreactions that emotional decisions cause, because there are a ton of overreactions in Judges 15. In verse 3, it says, Samson said to them, this time I have a right to get even with the Philistines. I will really harm them, as if killing 30 of them did nothing. So he says, he went out and caught 300 foxes and tied them tail to tail in pairs. The first time I read this, I was like, oh, cool, it's like Tails in Sonic the Hedgehog. And that's not what happens, though. If you keep reading, he fastened a torch to every pair of tails. He lit the torches. He lit the torches and let the foxes loose in the standing grain of the Philistines. He burned the shocks and standing of grain together with the vineyards and olive groves. So, okay, first off, this guy's got to be super fast. He caught 300 foxes. I don't know about you. I looked it up. They can get up to 30 miles per hour if they're running away from stuff. So he's got flash super speed along with his super strength. I don't know what happened there. Maybe he's just really smart and he just caught him, or maybe he's a fox whisperer. I don't know. But he catches 300 foxes. And so he's got 150 double foxes that he ties together. So he's like, all right, I'm going to take them. I picture him just like holding them by their tails and just like slinging them around like that. He's just like, all right, let's go, guys. And then he ties them up together. And he's like, all right, here's this torch. He puts it in between. He lights it up. He says, go! And there they go. They're just running. They're like, I think that sometimes this would be hard because I feel like they would try to go the wrong way and just end up hitting each other and coming back like that. I could just imagine that, and then that would be terrible, though. But they end up, not that, losing all your grain is not good because then you have no food. So that's essentially what happens here is Samson takes away all their food. He burns down all of their grains and their vineyards and their olive groves and all the stuff that they had in the Bible and all the stuff that they ate and everything. And so it's all burned down. And so for being late to his own wedding and losing his wife to another man for something that he did, after he was offered another beautiful woman, he was like, nah, not taking any of it. No, I'm going to set fire to all y'all's stuff. And so he does. And just like, he just sets fire to all this stuff. In my opinion, that's a pretty big overreaction. Like, I don't understand why he would react that violently. It's not that, it's unprecedented with killing 30 people earlier. But he goes on, and it gets worse, guys. It continues to get worse. Because in Judges 15:6, the Philistines asked, who did this? They were told, Samson, the Timnite's son-in-law, because his wife was given to his companion. So they're like gossiping. They're like, that boy was late. His wife was given to his best man. It was Samson. Y'all better go get him. But what did the Philistines do? The Philistines went up and burned her and her father to death. First of all, how very Old Testament of them to go find the people and burn them to death. That's just like, that's crazy. It's one of those things. It's like everything they did in the Old Testament was like, let's burn it. That's what we got to do. Whether it was like an offering or a calf or something, it was just like, the answer, burn it. That's what we do. And so they did. And here's overreaction number 2. They just burn these people alive. Like, no, that is not the answer. Like, sit down, get some coffee, go to Starbucks, talk it out. Like, look, there was a miscommunication. He didn't mean to be late. You made him set fire to all this stuff. Like, y'all need to have a resolution. It's like, no, burn him at the stake. I was like, whoa, that's too much. This is legit like some movie plot. I don't know. It's crazy. This would do really well at the box office. But if you keep going into Judges 15:7, it says that Samson said to them, since you've acted like this, I swear that I won't stop until I get my revenge on you. See, there you go. He's like the anti-hero in the movie. He's just like, you're just being a butthead, and now I'm just going to come after you guys some more. And then in verse 8, he says, he attacked them viciously and slaughtered many of them. He went down and stayed in the cave in the rock of Edom. And so, first of all, he's like, all right, you know what? You viciously slaughtered them, so I'm going to viciously slaughter you. So he's just going around town, like, taking dudes out. He's like working for the mafia. He's like coming out, bruh. I mean, I'm picturing him like, those UFC fighters who can just do like those one-punch knockouts? He's doing like one punch dead. Like, he's crazy. One shot kill, 360 no scope with his fist. He's just knocking these dudes out. And so basically, Samson's like, since you retaliated against me and it works out so well for both of us, why don't we just keep retaliating? And so he's just going boom, boom, boom. Like, they're going back and forth like a bunch of children, going like just dealing like quick thoughts. It's like, oh, he did this. I'm angry. Let's attack. Oh, they did this. I'm angry. Let's attack. They just keep going back and forth like a couple of animals who are just have no thought to think about. They don't stop and think about what they're doing to each other, and they're hurting both sides every time they do something. You're burning your own people. You're having your own people slaughtered because you're going up against a man who has the strength from God. It's been a divine gift. I don't know if they haven't noticed that or not, but he's really strong. And he can catch foxes and take down all your grain because he sets them on fire. It's crazy stuff. Like, I would be scared of Samson. I wouldn't be still retaliating against him back and forth. Like, I don't understand why they keep doing this. And then not only that, but in verse 8, he goes back into he leaves and he goes into a cave in the rock of Edom, and he's isolated again. He's all by himself. How would you feel if you just had to go and sit in a cave all day, every day? You're like Patrick Starr, just sitting under a rock, just literally there, just, twiddling your thumbs, hitting rocks, making pebbles, doing what you do if you're Samson. I mean, he had no Twitter. He had no phones. He had nothing. He was just sitting there waiting. I don't know what he was expecting to happen. Just sitting in a cave like, I'm just going to live out my life here in a cave. Grow long hair. Grow a beard. Doing what you do in the Bible times, because he had messed up so much and they had retaliated against each other to a different level each time that he just had to run and go away. And so after you have that isolation and you have those overreactions, there are consequences for the emotional decision. So in Judges 15:9, it says, the Philistines went up and camped in Judah, spreading out near Lehi. And the people of Judah asked, why have you come to fight us? We have come to take Samson prisoner, they answered, to do to him as he did to us. Wow. There you go. There's the children again. He did it to us. We're going to do it to him. That's exactly what we're going to do. There are just a bunch of 5-year-olds who are taking each other's crayons. And then in verse 11, it says, then 3,000 men from Judah. Okay, see, they understand how strong Samson is. They get 3,000 dudes to come after him. Okay, so those 3,000 men from Judah went down to the cave at the rock at Edom and said to Samson, don't you realize that the Philistines are rulers over us? What have you done to us? They're like, dude, really? Bro, you just angered the people who tell us what to do. You don't bite the hand that feeds you. Like, that's not good for us. Look, you're just ruining our lives. Now we have to hand you over. And you know what Samson said? I merely did to them what they did to me. Because, they're 5-year-olds still. They're just going back and forth. They're just slapping each other around, getting upset because nobody's going to stop. In verse 12, they said to him, we've come to tie you up and hand you over to the Philistines. Samson said, swear to me that you won't kill me yourselves. Agreed, they said. We will only tie you up and hand you over to them. We will not kill you. Aw, such bros. I mean, if you're having such bad emotional decisions that your friends have to come in droves to tie you up and hand you over to your enemies, that's a problem. That's a major consequence in my eyes, because, after that, when they, in verse 14, it says, as he approached Lehi, the Philistines came toward him shouting. They're not just like walking up, seeing that he's tied up. They're like, okay, he's good. We'll just let him bring to us. But they see him from afar and they're like, ah! They're coming after him. That's like 300. These guys are like ripped to shreds coming after him. They're like, we are ready to destroy. And they're running after this guy. And so I don't know what Samson's thinking he's going to do in this situation. He's tied up. He's got 3,000 of his own people giving him over to the other people who are shouting like Spartans ready to kill. He's got himself in a serious situation. So, but there's something about Samson that is really special. And it kind of comes along with the fact that he does make a lot of bad decisions. He makes a lot of bad decisions, but even in those bad decisions, he has faith in God, and he trusts in God the entire time. I don't know if you've noticed, but even when he's being super dumb, he's always like, God's got my back. No, like, there's no worries. He's like, God's got me. And, I know God gave you super strength, but if I'm keep making these terrible decisions, and I'm tied up, and 3,000 of my bros are carrying me to the opposite side, and, like, my enemies are coming streaming at me, I don't think I would be as calm as he was, because, I just picture him being like, all right, here we go. All right, God's going to take care of me when I get there. I just busted up a whole bunch of other guys. Might as well just take these guys out too. That's what I picture Samson thinking in his head. And so that's the part that I want you guys to focus on and realize, because I want you guys to see what happens when he trusts in God. So my next set of points are trusting in God gives you strength. And you're about to see some mega strength in here. In Judges 14, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him. The ropes of his arms became like charred flax, and the bindings dropped from his hands. All right, so he trusts in God. You know what God does? He breaks those shackles so that he's free. He's ready. He's geared up to go. He's like, all right. He's putting his dukes up. He's ready to knock him out. And he's so calm in this situation because he knows that he can trust in God, and God's going to give him what he needs to win this fight because he has had a divine calling since he was born. He knows exactly what he's about to do, and he's like, all right, I'm ready to fight. Let's go. I'm supposed to take these guys out. I'm supposed to deliver Israel from these guys. Might as well just take them out. God's going to help me. It's what he said he would do, so he's going to do it. Even after those boneheaded decisions, he never lacks in any faith. And in Judges 15:15 through 17, it says, finding a fresh jawbone of a donkey, he grabbed it and struck down 1,000 men. There you go. So he just happens to find this fresh jawbone of a donkey. Like, how does a jawbone of a donkey even become fresh? I don't understand that at all. Like, when I picture a jawbone of a donkey in the olden times, I got all these flies and stuff going around and be like, ugh, I ain't touching that. Just give me to the Philistines. I don't want that. That's gross. But God gave him the opportunity. And that's the second point that I want you guys to get. He's going to give you strength and he's going to give you opportunity. Because even in the Old Testament, when like donkeys were like Fords and they loaded up their donkey D150s and they went across the countries together, they weren't just like fresh jawbones lying around. They had, what Samson got was an opportunity from God. He saw this jawbone. He's like, all right, you already knocked down my bondage. He's like, I'm free. Here's a jawbone. Let's go. I'm ready for this. And I actually looked up what jawbones look like because I didn't know if it was just like a human bone, like if it looked like humans or whatever. But it's essentially like it comes down and then it comes together in a V. So if you break it in half, it's like you have two boomerangs. So I picture this going one of two ways. So it's like Thor's hammer, and he's like, Mjolnir. And it's like taking out these dudes' heads and like going across like that. Or it's like, like Yondu's little arrow in Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like, he's just like whistling the whole time he's doing it. He catches it back and he's ready to go. Or he's just taking him out like a tomahawk and he's like, ah, psh, psh, ah. I mean, I'm sure his sound effects were cooler than mine, but he was just like bashing these dudes and he was going at them. And in verse 16, it tells you in verse 15, it tells you he struck down 1,000 men. In verse 16, it shows his trust in God even more because he says, with a donkey's jawbone, I have made donkeys of them. With a donkey's jawbone, I have killed 1,000 men. And so when I first read this, I was like, man, he's really cocky. He's just like, I did it. I struck them down. I killed 1,000 of them. I did what I had to do. It was all me. But when you go into verse 17, it says, when he finished speaking, he threw away the jawbone, and the place was called Ramoth Lehi, which means Jawbone Hill, because he's really good at naming things. And then if you go into verse 18, it says, because he was thirsty, he cried out to the Lord, you have given your servant this great victory. So not only will God give you strength and opportunity, but he gives you victory. And right here is where I realize that he may be cocky, but he's not strictly cocky in himself. He's cocky and confident in the power that God has given him because he knows that God is inside of him. He's not a normal person, picks up a jawbone of a donkey and kills 1,000 men. He knows that this power that he has come from God. And he gives God the credit for the victory because he knows that that's where his strength is coming from. And as I was doing more research, I was like, I can't tell if Samson is supposed to be what we follow or what we learn from. Because there seems to be a lot of issues with Samson with the choices that he makes because he's an incredibly emotional decision maker. He seems to make a lot of the wrong choices. And it's hard to tell if he does the job that God wants him to do. So, I started looking up more places in the Bible that have Samson. And I looked, and the only other place I could find Samson was in Hebrews 11:32. And if anybody has ever heard of Hebrews 11, it's also like some people call it the Hall of Faith because it lists a bunch of people who have incredible faith. And I was looking and, pardon me, I saw that he was in it. And I was really confused at first because I was like, I see that he has faith, but he's up there with like David and like all the people after God's own heart who did a bunch of right things 90% of the time, like David had his trip ups every now and then, but he loved God so much he was doing like naked dancing for him. Samson, he don't do that. I don't see any of this. He mentions God in one verse and he makes the hall of faith. I didn't really understand that. But I was going through this kind of like, have you guys ever seen the Tumblr posts where people like they'll do something and they'll react to it and it'll just be this comment thread? I was reading something like that had to do with it. And it was brought up, does he deserve to be in here? Like, why is he in here? It doesn't make any sense. And despite what I kind of gathered from it and from the reading of the God's word that I have read, I gathered that he made a lot of wrong decisions and had a lot of issues, but he had faith throughout every single one of them. He was leaning on God because God gave him the strength, and even when he was tied up and put in situations where he didn't have any strength, he had faith in God because God had never failed him. He knew that God was always going to be there for him. So I understand why he's in there because, Samson has always had faith in the Lord and continues to always have faith in the Lord, even to his very last breath. And something that I read when I was on there is that he didn't make all the right decisions because, God wouldn't say that, you need to go marry into the people that you're supposed to deliver Israel from. God's plan wasn't for him to go into sin with Delilah before he loses his strength and everything. That doesn't seem to be what God's purpose for him is. But he had faith in God, so God used him anyway. Because if you have faith in God and you trust that God's going to come down to you, he will. That's what I want you guys to take from Samson is, even if you're making wrong decisions, if you're actively believing in God and trying to do the right thing, and like, even if you trip up, have faith in God and he's going to be there for you. He's not going to leave you. He's not going to dismiss you as like, oh, you're not doing what I want you to do? Okay, well, good luck getting my help. That's not what God does. And something else that I read, it kind of emphasized the fact that the just are justified by their faith, not by being perfect in all of their actions. And that's something that's really, really huge for, I think, teenagers because we make a lot of mistakes. Like, I don't know about you, I've made plenty of emotional decisions before. And I made plenty of mistakes. But it's the fact that you still have faith in God and you're trying to overcome those mistakes and trying to move forward and knowing that no matter what you do, God has you, and having faith in God that he's going to come down to you and help you through it all. That's where God's like, okay, you're working for me and I'm going to do what I can to help you because, if you're doing it for God, he's going to come down and he's going to say, look, I understand what you're doing. Here's some help. Here you go. Here's some, I'm not going to guarantee you get super strength and you can, strike down 1,000 men. I wouldn't say you need to strike down 1,000 men because you might get in a little bit of trouble for that. What I'm saying is you need to lean on God, and whatever strength you need at that time, God will give it to you. And as I go into my last point, I'm going to go into Judges 15:20, and it says, Samson judged Israel for 20 years in the days of the Philistines. And what I gathered from this, because judged here doesn't mean judged. He wasn't like, oh, really? Those sandals with that robe? No, that's terrible. No, he didn't do that to Israel. What judged means here is it means ruled. And as the worship band comes up, the last point that I have for you guys is God will give you strength, God will give you opportunity, he'll give you victory, and he'll give you influence. Because Samson had a divine calling since his very beginning. And so he starts out and he's born into this. He is like the man. He's going to have super strength. He's going to take the Israelites away from the power of the Philistines. He's here. He's going to make everybody happy again. There's not going to be any more oppression. And then Samson comes along and he's like, I'm going to do whatever I want to. But at the same time, he's trusting in God. So it's like, is he fulfilling his purpose all the way? I don't know. Is he trusting in God that he will eventually fulfill his purpose? Yes. He is trusting in God and saying, look, I know you promised me that you're going to give me this strength, so I 100% without a doubt believe it. And doing it 100% without a doubt is a very difficult thing to do. But when you do, God's going to give you everything you need to have that victory. And then once you have that victory, he's going to give you influence so that you continue to show to other people what they need so that they can have that same type of faith, so that they can continue to grow and be able to trust in God 100% as well, because he led these people for 20 years. And he was attempting to fulfill his purpose and deliver the Israelites from the Philistines. And so you have to understand that he made a lot of bad decisions, just like we do every day. We just make bad decisions. It's going to happen. Like, if you're a human, you're going to make dumb decisions. What you do after that is what really is what counts. Because, if you trust in God after that and you're like, Lord, I messed it up. I don't know what else to say. Like, I messed up. I made an emotional decision, and it wasn't based on what you had planned for me. It was based on what I felt at the time. There are going to be impulsive times like that. But when you come out of that, and even though there's ridicule and everybody's against you, and people are tying you up and handing you over to your enemies, if you can sit there and be like, all right, God, I told you I messed up. I know I messed up, but I still believe in you, and I believe that you believe in me. I want you to come down and give me the strength so that I'm able to get out of this situation, and I'm able to do what you want me to do, to fulfill your purpose. And whatever your purpose is, that's between you and God, and He's going to give you that power that you need to get out of that situation, but you have to trust him first. And so with every head bowed and every eye closed, I just want you guys to be thinking about how much do you lean on God and how much do you lean on your own emotions. So this week I have kind of, a challenge for you. I don't know. But as you're going through this week, anytime you have to make a decision, whether it's big or small, I want you guys to take 5 seconds to just be like, okay, what do I think and what do I think God wants me to do? So what do my emotions say and what does the Word of God say that I should follow? And so if you can take just that brief moment to be able to say, to be able to understand the difference between what you need from God and what you want from yourself, that's going to help you guys make the right decisions, because emotional decisions are going to make your world crash and burn, because there are consequences that come with emotional decisions. And I think everybody's learned that in life, and if you haven't, you will. And it's going to be a struggle, but you're going to be able to get through it if you just have that faith in God, because He will bring you victory. So if you're sitting here and you're like, I've made some emotional decisions, but I don't really even know who God is, I want you guys to think about if this is something you want to try, because God's love is going to be able to fill a void that you may not even know is there, but you keep searching for something and you're just like, this doesn't really make me happy. This isn't helping me get through situations. God will help you get through those situations. So if you're here and you want to try this whole God thing out, I want you to raise your hand and just say, be praying for me, because I want to be able to get through these situations and to be able to have somebody to lean on, because there are going to be times when, I see those hands, I see you and you, I see you there, and I want you guys to be able to have that faith to lean on God, because there are going to be times when there's not going to be a person to lean on. You can't lean on just yourself. You got to have someone bigger than you, and that's what God is for you. And if you're sitting here and you're like, all right, I've made a bunch of dumb decisions, and I've been a Christian, I've made a bunch of dumb decisions, and I haven't leaned on God at all, I want to give you guys a chance to renew that relationship and to keep going forward, because you may take a couple steps back, but if you keep trudging forward and keep trying to take those steps forward, God's going to be with you right through every step that you take. So if you would like to renew your relationship with God, I want you to raise your hand and to show me that hand. And I see hands going up everywhere. I see how it's a struggle to get through life sometimes, but God's going to be there with you every step of the way. So Lord, I pray for these kids and these students and everybody who's in here tonight and everyone who raised their hand. Lord, I pray that you help them as they either start or they renew their relationship, Lord. I pray that with people who are starting a relationship with you, Lord, that you show them that they can lean on you, that you're going to be that solid rock and that foundation that they're going to have forever. And if they're renewing their relationship with you, God, I hope that you show them that no matter what they've done or how many bad emotional decisions they've made, that they can still move forward because they have you to lean on, and they have the faith in you because you have the power above anyone else, and you have the love that can overcome and the peace that passes all understanding. And in your name I pray, amen.